What's going on there, guys? My name is Matt, or Chewy as most of you will know me as, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the iOS iPad apps that I use for all of my simulator needs. I've been recently incorporating my iPad into my Twitch live streams more and more, and I've had a lot of viewers ask me if I can go through the apps that I use, so I thought it would be a good idea to create a video explaining them all. I'm sure there are plenty more applications out there that I currently don't have installed, and so if you have any recommendations or suggestions for apps, whether it's freeware or payware, please let me know in the comments section below. Let's get started then. So, all of the apps that I use are currently shown on the screen here, and we'll start in the top left-hand corner with AeroWeather. AeroWeather is, exactly almost what it says on the tin. You can search for airports and find out all of the meta details. So we've here got London City, and you can quickly type in the iCow or the name of the airport to find out information for it. So we've got London City's meta and TAF, which we can have in the RAW mode, or if you're not familiar with the RAW mode, you can put it into decoded there to read it a little bit easier. It's got details on the runway. You can have that in either list or diagram format. There's imagery that you can pull up, which doesn't seem to work for me at the moment on airports. I'm not too sure why. Locations, so you can even see that there are, for some reason, showing 8 webcams around the airport at the moment. I'm not too sure if that's real. NOTAMs as well come up on the screen, and they're nice and easy to read. And then you've also got user data, which essentially is you can add your own notes to the application as well. AeroWeather has 2 options, a paid version, AeroWeather Pro, and a free option of AeroWeather Lite. I'm not too sure exactly what the differences are between the 2 applications. I use AeroWeather Pro, though, and those are the options that I have available to me. Moving on, second across is the app that is definitely used the most on my iPad, which is Navigraph Charts. This is provided by Jeppesen Charts with Navigraph, and it recently had a big update on iOS to bring what you see on the screen here. So as you can see, we've actually got a flight route loaded in from Porto in Portugal to La Rochelle in France, where I flew today on my live stream. And you can see our whole route here. You can click on the SID, for example, and overlay that SID chart on top of the map. As I do that, I click the wrong thing. There it is. And you can pull it up so you can have it full screen as well. And you can easily access all of your different charts for your airports. You can add diversion airports and all sorts of things. As I say, the app that definitely gets used the most on my channel, the new update that they've brought to it is absolutely fantastic. And it took them a little while to get it out for the iOS version, but it's certainly worth the wait. And the way that I actually get my flight plans in is via SimBrief. So, for example, if I go and delete this flight and unload it, all I would need to do to load in my flight plan after planning it on the free simbrief.com website is to click flights in the top left-hand corner, then click create and import from SimBrief. I've got my SimBrief username in there, click save flight, and just like that, instantly it pulls it in with the route. You can add and swap out SIDs and stars if you want, so you don't have to have that arrival in. Say you've got to change a runway or something, you can see the other options for different stars, approaches, and all types of things. It's absolutely amazing. So if you haven't already got a Navigraph subscription and you're a flight simmer, I would highly advise you to do so. I love it. You do have another option, though. If Navigraph and Jeppesen Charts isn't for you, you'll see third across from the left there is NDP Charts. This is provided by Aerosoft and Lido Charts. I currently don't have a subscription to this at the moment, so I won't open up the application as I don't use it. But I thought I'd include it in this video just to show that you do have 2 main options there for your simming needs. It's really a case of the lesser evil for you. I believe that Navigraph is by far the better application. However, they do have their chart sources as Jeppesen Charts, which are less popular, I find, within the flight simulation community. Whilst the NDP Charts app by Aerosoft is definitely the worst app out of the 2 choices, but it does have the more favourable Lido chart option there. Fourth one across in the red is windy.com, and if you've never seen windy.com, I would highly recommend having a look at it. It's a freeware app. It's also a website, as you can see, and it pulls in real world weather data, and you can have a look at the forecast as well. You can see that there down at the bottom, so we can skip ahead in time to the weekend and into next week and basically make a weather forecast out of it. So maybe that's what I should do on my Twitch channel. I should become a weatherman. You can change different things. So you can have wind data up. You can change where that wind data is. So we can load in the wind data currently across the Atlantic Ocean and towards the United Kingdom here and parts of Europe up to 34,000 feet. I've got that loaded in at the moment. Not only wind, though, you can do radar and satellite information. You can put rain and thunder on here. All sorts of incredible things. Thunderstorms, snow, the temperature at the moment, humidity, clouds. It's just absolutely endless, the amount of options that you can do on this application. And it's completely free, which is absolutely ridiculous in my mind. So I'd really recommend you going and having a look at windy.com. And another thing that you can do is you can actually enter an airport. So let's go and have a look at EGLL, if it will pull it up. Oh, it's going to do, I don't know why it's doing that. Let's try and put London Heathrow instead. Maybe it doesn't like that. It should be able to find the airport. Here we go, London Heathrow Airport, EGLL, and you can start to pull in details about that there. It's got nearest weather stations, and you can see down the bottom it's got forecast information and all sorts of fun things to play with. So once again, highly recommend this app because if you're like me and you always use real-world weather data in your simulator, this is very helpful. Moving on, we have airports. Now, this app actually is very, very, very similar to the AeroWeather app I showed you at the start of the video. Once again, we've actually got London Heathrow already loaded for us. And one thing that I really like about the Airports app is that this includes every single airport, I believe, in the world. It's got a selection here on the left-hand side that I'm scrolling through. However, I'm sure there are a lot more than what's in here. You can see we've got the satellite imagery over the top of London Heathrow here, so we can have a look and see what the layout of the airport is like straight away. We can click the C in the the bottom right-hand corner there, and find out the runways that are in use and their lengths. And then we can also pull up the information, just like how we can in that AeroWeather app. So we can see alternates on here and bring them up on the map if we needed to. We can pull up the METAR and TAF as well. We can have a look at the NOTAM informations, which will just take a few seconds to load, as there's probably quite a few at London Heathrow. There it is. And then, again, just like with the AeroWeather app, you can add notes on here. Please be aware this is a payware app from the App Store. It's not free. But another useful one if you want to, have a look in advance at the place that you're flying to or the place that you're flying from in the simulator. If you're not too familiar with it, you can get satellite imagery and all the information you need before you get into the sim or before you arrive there. And you can save those notes. So if you ever fly back to those airports, you'll be able to read the notes that you've made on previous visits. The last one on the top line is something to do with the VAT Sim network, which I fly on. And this is called VAT Scope. It's asking me to rate it. I would rate it 5 stars, but not now. And VAT Scope is essentially what it says on the tin. It looks at all of the traffic and air traffic control on the VAT Sim network, and you can find out details about them. So let's zoom in on the UK. We're kind of concentrating on Heathrow at the moment, and actually a friend of mine is currently flying. Simfest themselves, Speedbird 47 Charlie, there they are, flying from Manchester to Heathrow. And if you click on their tag, you can see their altitude at the moment, their ground speed, their squawk, aircraft type, what flight type they are, their route, all of their remarks. There you go, simfest.co.uk. Please go and check us out. We're a charity, and we raise money for charity in our 747 simulator. That's by complete chance that we found him on the scope there. And not only that, what we can do is if we go and have a look at the top of this flight, we can see EGCC for Manchester and EGLL for the arrival airport of London Heathrow. If I click EGLL, it will bring up a list of all of the departures currently filed on the VAT Sim network out of London Heathrow, and you can go and find all of those. That's in red. In green, you've got all of the arrivals listed on here as well, and you can click on those. And what air traffic control. So we've got another friend of the stream, Morgan, who's on North Director at the moment on 119.72, and then Tower is on 118.5. And this is a really, really, really handy app for those of you who fly on the VAT Sim network. There is a freeware and a payware option of this, so you don't need to pay to use this application, but more features are unlocked if you do pay a small price on top. Second line then, ForeFlight. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard about ForeFlight and used it before. This is a real-world tool that can also be used in your simulator. ForeFlight will actually hook up a connection with X-Plane 11 if that is your simulator of choice. And you can use ForeFlight for all of your needs here, really, in the simulator and in real world. You can plan flights on here. It's almost like an electronic flight bag, and you can bring up charts and a variety of things. I'm not going to go into detail on ForeFlight. As you can see, my trial finished on the 17th of July, and I haven't renewed it because the price is rather expensive. And at the moment, I don't feel like I particularly need it. That being said, I've got lots of friends who are X-Plane users and who use this app. It's basically their Bible, and they wouldn't be able to fly without it. So ForeFlight is very expensive, but it can be used as a simulator tool on your iPad, and it can also be used, as I say, in real-world flight as well. So you can transition your skills across. Moving across, a 747 landing calculator. This isn't used too much. However, it is incredibly accurate. It says there on the screen, it just came up with it, that it's not for operational use. However, I've done some checking with some friends across on some real-world documents of the Boeing 747-400 Rolls-Royce variant, and we did some cross-checking between this application and the figures that are on the paperwork for the aircraft. And there was only 10 meters difference. So this is an incredibly accurate tool. And it does what it says on the tin. Once again, I don't know how many times I've used that quote today. But essentially, the tool is there for you to see what kind of braking action you're going to need when you're landing in the 747. You can put in the runway condition, what your landing weight will be, your flap of choice, what reverse options you've got, the runway slope. On the right-hand side, you've got all of the information about the airfield, its elevation, QNH, temperature, blah, blah, blah. And once you fill in all of these different variables, on the bottom left-hand side, you'll get an option. You'll get all of the different options for how long your landing distance would be depending on the auto brake level that you chose. And as I say, when we cross-check this with the charts for with the documentation for a real-world 747-400 Rolls-Royce variant, the differences between what the paperwork and this little 79 pence application gave us was only 10 meters. So it is very, very accurate indeed. Notability is another huge app that I could talk about for hours and hours and hours, but Notability is where I put all of my flight plans. I use the iPad Pro with the Apple Pencil, and here I was talking about that flight from earlier on where I was flying Porto to La Rochelle. Well, this was the first flight in that rotation, Ryanair 358, and you can see that I've highlighted and drawn on various things here for my flight plan. Which is really, really handy. And all I need to do is I go onto Google Chrome and I bring up simbrief.com. I log into my simbrief.com account and open up a new tab with the flight plan in it. And then in the top right-hand corner, you'll see there's the export button. And I simply click Notability. And it will share it to Notability. I've already got it in there, so that's why it's asking me to share it with one that already exists. So you share the PDF document with Notability, you open up Notability, and as if by magic, it appears in there. And if you have the Apple Pencil, as I say, you can use it to, the way that I've been using it here, to highlight certain things, to write things down on. That was our takeoff weight on the right-hand side there, that's 68.7. I usually use it for writing things down like our departure ATC clearance here, and also doing fuel checks and other useful bits of information. So I have a lot of viewers ask how I get my flight plan onto my iPad, and the application that I use to write on it, and Notability is the answer. This is another payware application. It's not cheap, but it is thoroughly worth it, I can assure you. To the right of that is Flight Radar 24. Now, if you're not familiar with Flight Radar 24, This is an application that tracks real-world flights in real time, pretty much, and shows you the information. So actually on the screen right now, we've got Boston Logan International on the east coast of the United States. And we can see, if we click on this aircraft here, that there's a Delta 717 landing in from LaGuardia right now on runway 27, that would be. And you may ask, why is this needed for a simulator? Well, when I'm flying on real world weather and when I'm flying on the VAT Sim network and things, I always like to try and maintain a level of realism in terms of what runways are in use. And this application is great if you've got no air traffic control online, or if the winds are calm and you're not too sure what are the correct runways to use. You can simply go onto the Flight Radar app. Again, we've been using it a lot today, so let's do it once more. London Heathrow. We'll go and have a look at it, and we can see what runways they're using. So at the moment, we can see that there's a Shuttle 7 X-ray just landing in from Glasgow on runway 27 left, and that must mean that they're then departing on runway 27 right. There's a Swiss off to Geneva just about to line up. And so, as I say, this is a great app if you're not too sure what runways to be using to pick things up. It's also a great app as well, because you can find things like, if we zoom in on the Swiss here, we can find out, kind of what terminal he left. We can even find out pretty much what gate he left from and the taxi route that he took. You can find out real-world call signs and various bits of information like that. So Flight Radar, yes, it's a real-world application. However, it can still be useful in your simulator. 4 more apps to show. Speed app is the next one, and I'm not 100% too sure on this one at the moment. I'm still using it right now. However, there's been some discussion in my live stream about how useful it is. What this application essentially does is it will give you an idea as to what your approach speed should be in your MCP or FCU. Depending on the wind conditions and the runway heading and what your speed is, there may be times in an aircraft where you'll have to not just add the typical VREF plus 5 knots on top of your speed. I'm not going to get into why and all of the details about that. I could maybe do that in another video, or I'm sure you guys can find out online. But essentially what this application is built for is to make it easy for you. All you need to do is to, decide which wind direction's coming in, what your VREF on your aircraft is. Let's say 145 or so. You can change it like so. Let's say the wind speed is quite high today. It's 20, gusting 28. And you've got the runway heading as well. So let's say we're landing in on runway 27 at Heathrow as well. So it's a straight headwind. And it's asking us if the winds were 20, gusting 28, to add VREF plus 15 there at the top. And the approach speed would be 160. So we would know that our final approach speed to put in our MCP or FCU is 160. As I say, there's been discussion in my live stream at the moment about how useful this is, because I'm not too sure whether this would apply to every single aircraft type that you would add the exact same numbers on. Again, if you guys know more about this than I do, please feel free to leave a comment in the description below. And let me know, because I would love to get some more information on this. However, it's a cool app, so I thought I'd include it in the video. Next over is Pushover. Now, you're probably wondering what in the world Pushover is. Well, this is an app that I've actually only got working within the past hour, but it is awesome. And to show you what it is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my other screen right now, and we're in the sim. Apologies that we're on 2D screens, but I'm in the FS Labs, and the FS Labs has got an AOC menu now integrated into it, which does CPDLC things, so you can get weather, performance requests, all of your OFP data and things. Again, I won't go into detail about this. But one cool thing that you can do with all of these information is, say we go and request performance data for the aircraft, it would come through in the received messages page. And these received messages can actually be printed. You can buy a physical printer and get data through the FS Labs and have it print out on a little printer with paper. Obviously, that was a stupid point. And which is a really cool little feature of the FS Labs. A lot of people don't really know that it exists, but you can hook up a printer and have these bits of information that you get through your AOC received messages printed out. However, if you want to save the planet and save the trees, you can also get them printed out to your iPad using the Pushover app. So let's do an example. Let's go. I know you're probably getting bored of it. EGLL. Let's go and click it. put it up in the top right hand here, and we're just going to ask for the metadata for Heathrow. So we click meta, and that gets sent across. Then we'll close down that page. We don't need that anymore. Oh, as if by magic, we've got a notification. There it is, straight away. Weather from London Heathrow into the aircraft. I don't know. The reason why it says 30th of May 2017 is because that's the sim time. I didn't change the sim to realistic time. But that is the real world meta. It's on the 18th at the moment, the 18th of October at 1950 Zulu. The winds are 200 at 10 knots, blah, blah, blah. You can read the rest. And so that was just an example of how quick it is to work. It was really, really, really simple to set up this Pushover app. You can get a free trial with it before you have to pay for it. But yeah, if you don't want to buy a physical printer and have all of your FS Labs messages printing out on paper and getting messy on your desk, you can simply use this Pushover app on your iPad and get them all sent to there instead, which is really cool, I think. 2 more to go, and these ones are a bit interesting. As you can see in the bottom left, I've got Chrome Remote Desktop loaded up. And the thing that's good about Chrome Remote Desktop, I don't really use it too much at the moment, but it may be useful to you, is essentially it mirrors your computer screen onto your device. So if I click on it, it's not going to let me click on it. That's absolutely sod's law. Let me just see if I can connect to it again and see if it will work for me. Hopefully it will. But the reason why this may be useful, yeah, here we go, is I thought that I could use it for Avlosoft Electronic Flight Bag. On my third monitor on my streaming PC right now, I have my electronic flight bag, as I say, called Avlosoft, open at the moment. And say for whatever reason you wanted to get this or anything else that's on your computer screen onto your iPad screen as well, I think Chrome Remote Desktop is the way to do it. There is virtually no lag between the two. It is almost instant. And you don't just have to review what's on the page. You can click on things as well. So here on the screen, we've got the Boston Logan International layout on the electronic flight bag. And if I, in the bottom left, bottom right here, click traffic, that will add or remove the current VAT sim traffic spawned in on stands at Boston. And I just wanted to do that to prove to you guys that not only can you have a look at what's on your computer screens on here, but you can also interact with them as well. This may not be useful to you whatsoever, but, you know, if you wanted to put Avlosoft Electronic Flight Bag or anything else up on your iPad screen for whatever reason, you could easily do so. It's also actually another great app because say you need to move away from your computer for a little while and you want to keep checking up on your aircraft, you could put your simulator into a screen looking at the FMC, for example, and then set up Chrome Remote Desktop, and you could be walking around the house or walking wherever as long as you've got internet, and pull up the screen and you could check your FMC to make sure that your aircraft is still flying whilst you're not actually sat at your computer. So various uses for this. Feel free to play with it as you like, but I just thought I'd show you an example of pulling my EFB onto here because at the moment, unfortunately, there isn't a good application for Avlosoft on iOS. And if Avlosoft ever watch this video, please, I don't know how much I have to beg, please make an app because I would be one very happy bunny if I could use your amazing software on my iPad. Right, the final one, not really an app as such, but just a document viewer. Why not put your checklist on here as well? If I go and load this up, you can see I've got the British Airways 747 normal checklist up on here. You can put your QRHs on here from all of your aircraft in the sim. You can put FCOMs, whatever the hell you like. Any PDF, just whack it on here that may be useful for you to look up. This is one that I made. This is basically a direct replica of the real-world British Airways 747 checklist. A 747 pilot put a picture of it up on Twitter once, and I went into Word and copied it as much as I could. And so, yeah, so instead of having paper checklists around, you can simply just go into Apple Books and have all of your PDFs there for checklists or FCOMs or all of those different things as well. So why not integrate that into your iPad as well? So that's it. Those are all of the apps that I'm currently using. Again, if you have any more recommendations or suggestions for apps that you think would be great to add to my list, please pop them down in the comments section below. I know this has been a long video, so I hope I've not bored you all to death, and I hope I've helped some of you all have a look and be introduced to some new awesome apps for you to use. Thanks for watching the video, guys. I'm sure I'll see you again soon. Cheers.